I am waiting on a friend of mine to come to help me to trim the hooves for my girls and especially for my big boy anyway. But I know that there are some people asking me how to take care of the animals, and one of the things that we need to learn how to do is how to trim their hooves. So these girls are kind of big for me to handle, so I invited a professional in my area to come and trim their hooves. So I hope you enjoy and find it helpful.
So we're on Lily's Homestead. We're going to show you how to trim a goat. This is a boar goat. What's her name?
Tipsy.
Tipsy. So Tipsy is going to be our demonstrator. Couple things before you trim your goat. What I tell everybody all the time is trimming your goat, half the battle is managing the animal. So this is a shearing stand. I like to use it because it's portable. Trimming goats and going to different properties and stuff like that, this is the easiest way for me. They make them out of wood. You can build them very easily out of wood. There's probably a couple good YouTube videos or some instructions online. Another thing that I'll use for bigger goats is this. It's called an all-in-one halter. Very simple to use and a lifesaver if you don't have a stand or something like that. Goes right over the head, right over the muzzle. Tighten up, take this, and then you just tie them to a fence. They can't go anywhere. It's a little less practical than a stand, a little less forgiving on your back. Works great. They're about $5 at your local feed store. Highly recommend having these if you have any sort of goats, sheep, or anything like that for emergencies and whatnot. You only really need a good pair of hoof snips to trim goat hooves. I'm going to demonstrate with a hoof pick and brush as well. This is more for horses. I recommend them for beginners due to the fact that you can kind of clean the hoof and see where you're working and things like that. It's very important to be able to see what you're doing and see where you need to cut and whatnot. And a lot of the time you get a lot of mud or dirt or whatever in the hooves. So I'm going to use a couple different holds. The entire process, you want to make sure the animal is as comfortable as possible. It's all about the comfort for the animal. The less comfortable they are, the more they're going to struggle, the harder it is it's going to be for you. So if you want to come around this way, I always make it the same for them. I always give them the same routine every time. Life's about routine, whether you're human, animal, whatever. Everybody knows feeding time, all that stuff. So I always work from the front left, back right, front right, and I work around. If I have to go back, that's fine. And don't feel a responsibility to get it all done at once. There's nothing wrong with putting the hoof down, coming back to it a couple minutes later. If she's giving you a hard time here, go to the back, go to the front, and then come back to it later if you need to take more length off. When I'm working with any animal, especially an animal I'm not familiar with, the best thing you can do is ask. Obviously we can't ask with words, so we ask with our hands. Anybody who's familiar with horses may know what I'm talking about when it comes to grabbing the leg. So what I do is I'll take my hand and I'll kind of just ride it down the leg, and I'll just kind of use these three fingers right here, these three fingers, to kind of ask the animal for its foot. And I don't grab it. It's not about a fight or anything like that. And she's giving it to me right now. So the more she struggles, the tighter I get, once she realizes, hey, it gets tighter the more I struggle, she'll stop. Like anything else, you realize that it's getting worse and worse and worse, you'll stop. So all you have to do is ask. I like to use my leg, whether I'm on the ground or on the stand, I like to use my leg to kind of support her legs so she's not having her arm held behind her back all the time. That can get very uncomfortable. 4 parts on a hoof to trim. There's the tip, which is right here. There's the outer wall, there's the inner wall, and then there's the heel. So the first thing I do is I'll take the heel down a little bit. Just come in with your snips. And then you can take either the toe off or you can work the wall. This is all personal preference. As long as you get it all done, you can take the top off, and you can see right in here, you can see the end of her toe. So we want to make sure we take this whole part off right here. So we're going to come in, and we're just going to take that off. We're going to work our way up the side. She's got a little bit of separation and her wall's riding up right here. You don't want to chase it upward, just leave it if that's the case. That will grow down with the hoof. Then you want to ride the inside. It's almost like an angle right here. You kind of ride the inside of the hoof, get a good cut on the angle. On that angle, make sure your tips are done, nice and rounded. If you're doing a backyard trim at your house, that's perfect. You got to keep up on it about every 6 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks. Ride the inside again on the other side. I'm going to ride the outside on this one. Come around, work the heel. It's all about weight distribution. You want everything to touch the ground nice and flush and flat, all at the same. There's a lot of weight on these animals, and they need to be able to carry themselves properly. So it's all about weight distribution. You don't want them working on anything. So that's great. If I was doing a little bit, you know, of a finished job or something for show or anything like that, I would take this side down a little bit. I would take this side down and influence both of these inward. As a backyard trim for a how-to video, this is perfect. Now we'll work to the back one. Same thing, we're going to take our hands super gentle and we're going to ask. They tend to not like the back legs because they can't see what you're doing, so they don't know. We got a little bit of a rollover here, which is awesome for a how-to video because I'll show you how to deal with that. It's very, very simple. So what's happening here is she's walking on this inside wall. You don't want that. So you can come in here. So it's always important, excuse me, it's always important to see what you're doing. So you can take the toe off like that and then kind of work your snips under that wall. And it's almost like a 45-degree angle. And you can snip that wall off, come back, work that toe, work the outer wall, work the heel. Looks good, nothing coming out. Rounded corners on the front, looks good to go. So this one, we can see the edge of her toe right here. We're gonna take a bigger snip. I'm gonna show you what to do with a little bit more confidence. Good to go. Off the front, ride the outer wall. Notice how with my arm, I'm holding her into my body so I have the ability to work with both hands. You know, and if she starts bucking, I can kind of pull her in like this. So we're gonna take that heel off. We're gonna work that inside wall. Get a little bit of dirt right here. We can clean that out. Not a big deal. And take the toe down. When you do this, especially as a beginner, you will cut goats. It's not a big deal. It's like cutting yourself when you're shaving. You know, it looks like a massacre. Again, that's fine. It looks like a massacre, but it's actually not. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to kill the goat. So this is a great foot to show you how to use a hoof pick to clear it out. What I'll do is I'll use the tips of my shears, my hoof shears. You can buy one of these for about $4 at pretty much any feed store, any store with horse supplies. You can come in and brush it out. If you do that, you know, if you use one of these, just come in and kind of clear that stuff out. This is a great way to learn how to actually work the hooves and what consists of a hoof. So you can get that out, and then you come in, kind of just clean this out. It's important to kind of be able to see what you're doing. So now I can see what's going on the hoof and take all that off in one shot, work the outside, work that heel off. Sometimes there'll be a little tip right here. Don't be afraid to get in there and take that off. Inside wall. We're gonna come back around for a minute and round this tip off. Take that extra length off. Good to go. That's a finished backyard trim compared to a unfinished. So we'll take the tip off, work that inside wall, come back to the outside. Work that, we'll work around. We'll take the heel off. And again, you're not grabbing, you're not gripping her super tight. You're just kind of asking and holding her. You don't want to spook the animal.
Tipsy's a nice girl.
She is.
She's my favorite.
Is she? Mm-hmm. So, and that's good. This is a backyard trim. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. They say about every 6 weeks when you get a trim from us at Farm Feet. Usually lasts you at least 3 months. As we go a little bit more into it. As a backyard trim, doing it yourself on your homestead. Keep an eye on it every 6 weeks, doing it just like that. It's every 6 weeks. It's a fairly easy thing to do. You know, if you have a pair of hoof snips on hand, whether you put them in your barn or you just grab them when you're going out to do chores. You can even grab a goat while you're feeding. and you can clip one of them as you go. So we're going to take the heel off on this one. This is the most difficult hoof to do if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, I'm sure there's a bit of an advantage because you just work from like I did on this side. Again, I like to support the knee with my leg for the animal's sake. You know, I think it makes it a little bit more comfortable, and again, it's all about making the animal comfortable. So you want to work on the inside, take that toe off, take that length off. This is where it becomes awkward. You can kind of working all up in here. You take that tip off so it doesn't grow into this hoof and start influencing this. That's when they start rolling ankles and things like that. It becomes an issue for them, causing arthritis down the road, discomfort walking. They spend a lot of time on their knees and things like that.